forgot to take my glasses off again. I sat on the floor here to record my video, and my puppies came over. It's like, hey, pet on us. So I got one corgi here, and actually one right behind the camera. Hey, Chloe. There's the top of her head. Look, that cute puppy. Oh, there's Thor. Like, wait a minute, you're paying attention to Daddy? Yep, this is Thor boy right here. I need to start exercising him more because Thor's getting a little pudgy. Thor, come here. But anyway, don't lick my feet. Now Thor's sitting in front of me. Oh yeah, but anyway, sorry. A text message. One of the things about the Apple Watch, it's like, oh cool, I can get my text messages on my wrist. And then the other thing is, I get my text messages on my wrist. It's like, oh, it says, previously, I grew up, we didn't have cell phones. These things, if you want to talk to somebody, if you were lucky, you had a cordless phone, and you could actually like walk around your house. I never had one. I always had a corded phone, so you were stuck as long as that cord was. So, this is a blessing and a curse. I've actually told my boss. I said, when I'm on vacation, when I take off, I take off. I said, I won't check. I said, I don't check my email. I don't do anything. I leave this place. I forgot that light is right. Let me see if I can actually get that. That might make it better so you don't actually see that light up there. But I'm really far up in the picture now. I'm not sure how that works. But I'm hunched over, so it probably looks like crap. Sorry about that. But anyways, cell phones. These things. If you look to my boss, yeah, I said, if you really need me, call me. I said, and leave me that message because if I don't have your number in my phone, I'm not going to answer it. I don't care who you are. If I see the number and it's the area code I'm in or where I'm from, if it doesn't have a name associated with it, I don't answer it. If you need me, you'll leave me a message. I always tell everybody, if it's important, you'll leave me a message. If it's not important, they didn't leave. If they didn't leave me a message, it wasn't important. I don't need to call the person back. I don't care who it was that called me. And the reason why is because spammers and everything like that. Yes, I'm on the do not call list, but I get calls day after day after day from robocallers saying, "Oh, I'm with blah blah." Oh yeah, if you get a call from, so it says, I'm calling on behalf of the blah 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 fire department or police department. What they're doing is they've basically contacted and said, hey, we'll pay you 10% or 5% of what we get. And basically they're taking like 90 to 95% of the money. So if you give $100, the police department or fire department might get 5 of it. So when they say, I'm blah blah blah, I'm calling on behalf of the blah 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 fire department, police department, whatever. There's companies that do this. And I get calls from them all the time. And so yeah, like I mean, if I've pre-ordered a game somewhere, they'll call me and they'll leave a message. If it's like anything that needs to be done, or I need to take, I mean, I've dealt with like placement agencies, like the headhunters, I think they call them, basically like to help you hunt for a job. Well, they'll leave you a message. If I don't know your number and you call my phone, I can guarantee you I'm not going to answer it unless your name is in my contacts list. And I've told my boss that. I said, if you call me, leave a voicemail, I'll call you back pretty quickly. But if you don't, I won't. And they found that out in the place where I did the programming job. They called me and they didn't leave a voicemail. They, I was just like, okay. And so I didn't know who it was because when I got back, they said, "Oh, we called you." I said, "Oh, what's your number?" And I was like, "Oh, your number wasn't in my phone." Granted, I probably wouldn't have answered it anyway because of, like I said, when I'm on vacation, I'm on vacation. And if you don't leave a message, it wasn't important enough for me to take notice of. So if you call me, and like even my job, if I have my boss's number in my cell phone and he calls me and he doesn't leave a message, it must not have been important enough to warrant my attention. And if you're like, "Oh, but you should call him back. It's your job." No. If I take time off, okay, time off away from my job, so I put in for vacation, and I'm on vacation for however long, that is part of my job descriptions. I get that much vacation. That's away from my job. That means that this is my personal phone. If my job is calling me, are they going to give me that time back for my vacation? No. So if they call me, like this has actually happened to me before. I've been in vacation. I was in, oh shoot, where was it? I was coming back from Comic-Con, and it was on a Monday, and there's storms, and we got diverted. So we were out. I was in an airport that we weren't supposed to be in, trying to get a flight back home, and my boss called me. Okay, now I'm trying to get a flight back home. I'm dealing with all this and basically all the storms, all the people in the airport. That was not this recent one. When I was in Florida, this is 5-6 years ago, and oh shoot, what was it? And he's wondering why I wasn't there for a meeting. And I'm like, I'm on vacation. I would not even be back in the state until 5 p.m. Monday. That's actually when you looked at my request for time off, it actually even says that in the notes. And he's wondering why I wasn't in the office for a meeting. I'm like, I'm on vacation. And he was talking to me, and he got really quiet. And I'm sitting there. I'm trying to pay attention to what they're announcing over the speaker because they're announcing like certain flight cancellations and stuff like. Because we got booked on like 2 different flights that both of them got canceled. We finally got onto a plane. We got to a flight that come back home. That they even told us that your luggage will not be on this plane. We don't have time to load it. They said, but you can come back later that night and they'll pick it up. I don't live far. I mean, live about 20 or 30 minutes from the airport, so it's not that big of a deal. So basically, I just drove back over there later that night, even though I got into town at like, I don't know, really, really, really late. And I was I was very tired. I mean, I got in, I think it's close to midnight. I went back the next day and got my luggage. I didn't come back. I didn't get it that night. And when I still went into work the next day, I probably could have called in sick. But I was like, no, my vacation's over. But still, yeah, they called me wanting me to basically talk about work. I'm halfway across the country trying to get home. So yeah, it wasn't a good time. But yeah, and I don't know why I answered my phone that time. That was one of the main reasons why I don't answer my phone unless it's in my address book. And if you're work, I won't answer my phone. So if you're my boss or you're something else and you call me, it's important. Leave a message. I will call you back because that means it was important. If you send me a text message, I will answer text messages because that's something I can look at my phone, read quickly, done. But phone calls turn into meetings, and they last hours. It's like, can you look at this for me? No. Why not? I'm on vacation, and it's like, If you want me to pull out my laptop, I don't bring my work laptop on vacations with me. I bring my personal laptop that's not configured and doesn't have any of the software on it. Doesn't have the email software on it. And actually, what was they asked me once if I could log into VPN to do something. And I'm like, I have a Mac. The VPN software doesn't work on a Mac. And they're like, oh well, there's a Mac version. Okay, is it compatible with the version you guys have in the office? Because it's very restrictive. What was put in, and they're like, oh, yeah, it was. It was so restricted they didn't allow. They only allowed. It had an operating. It's only an allow list, not an exclusion list. It was an allow. So it's like you could only work if you had Windows 7 and Windows 8 hadn't out yet. It would work with a 64-bit of XP and Windows 7. That's it. If you had the 32-bit version of it, Windows XP, the VPN would not work. So that was how restrictive that was. And they were trying to get me to log in to VPN with a Mac. And I'm like, it will not work. They're like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And they kept trying to get me to do it. And I was like, it doesn't work. It's not compatible. We got a restricted VPN. That they called because I was trying to get the VPN to one of our clients, and they called that client's IT, and they're like, oh no, it won't work. But yeah, that's another reason why I don't do, because that call turned into an hour ordeal while I'm on vacation. So it's like, and people don't understand, is like when I'm in California, you're 3 hours ahead because I live on the East Coast. If you call me at 9 a.m., 6 a.m. in California. If you call me at 6 a.m., it's 3 a.m. And when I was on vacation, I have been called at ungodly hours. And the first time it was at 3 a.m. because they called me up and said, and the exact wording was, we have a meeting today. Can you help us configure the, what was it? We had basically a conferencing system. I can't remember the name of it right now, but it says, can you help us set it up? And it was my boss. I was on a conference call. My boss, it's a small company, so the vice president and the president I talked to regularly. So it wasn't like, oh my God, I can't believe these people are on the phone. No, I talked to them almost daily. And so basically, they called me. They knew I was in California, but they weren't thinking. And they said, can you help us set this up? I said, there's just silence for probably 15 seconds. I said, are you there? I said, it's 3 a.m. And that was my only words. And they realized, because they knew where I was, because I had told them, they were like, oh wow, you're going to Comic-Con. That's really cool. And when I said that, they were like, oh, sorry. And it's like, but they were waiting for me to say, yeah, I'll help you. And when I didn't say another word, they'll say, okay, sorry for interrupting you. And they hung up. These things are the devil. Wow, I actually had a completely different topic to talk about today. And I started talking about this and phone calls and yeah, because the one that I got called, like during Labor Day, that Tuesday I took off because my son's starting preschool. Yes, I got called, not while my son was going to preschool, but I got called while me and my wife were out to breakfast that day. And I just like, no, I'm not answering it. I'm on vacation. I will deal with this tomorrow. Because I was going into that office the next day. Oh, man. Things like that. And the reason, and if people say, but you're a bad employee. Really? And I don't understand that mentality. If you are paid to work this time to this time, but you're salaried. Okay, if I'm salaried, so let's say you're going to work over. 40 hours. Okay, I can accept that. But if I work under 30 hours, they can't say anything either. But if you try to work under 30 hours, then you get talked to. So that's the thing. You can't have it both ways. Companies have tried, and they actually, I can't remember who it was. I remember it was a lawsuit, and some companies they were like, no, this person's salaried. They don't have if they work 5 hours or 80 hours, they make the same thing. So, yeah, very, yeah. So, it's a crappy situation either way, because if you do work under 40 hours, they are going to get mad. But if you work over 40 hours, they have no problem. Because I did that once. Another thing, same company that called me at 3 a.m. Actually, I worked like 70, 80 hours in 1 week. And they were like, oh, and I asked about compensation. I was like, well, we don't pay overtime. And I was like, okay, I'll see you next week. And they're like, no, and they actually said, you got to work 40 hours a week. I was like, okay, so my check, I need to work 80 hours, correct? And they're like, yeah. I said, okay, I've already worked that. And I think they realized what I meant, because I had spent the entire weekend, like 16, 17-hour days on just those 2 days. And then the other days I was working 10, 12 hours. So yeah, I killed myself with that job. And that's the reason why I won't do it again. Sorry. Long video talking about this. But anyways, hope you guys had a good day. Mine was pretty good. I tried to get a lot of work done today, and I think I did. But anyways, I'll get off here. Wow, I talked 17 minutes about this. Did not mean to. Talk to you tomorrow. And that was just doggy hair flying everywhere.